Hello guys, and welcome back to the final part of my 6 essential grammar points for CAE. This is the last one, this is part 6, and today we're going to be looking at the subjunctive in English. So stay tuned. So if you've been studying English for a while, you're probably aware that there is no actual subjunctive conjugation of the verbs. Okay, English is very limited in terms of conjugations. We have the 3 magic columns, which I'm sure you learned when you started the language: the present, the past, and the past participle. And to do other things with the language, like form future tenses or subjunctives, the unreal or idea kind of tense, we have to play with what we already have. We have to manipulate the structures that are already in place to form new tenses. So if you're using a textbook, or if you look at a lot of videos online as well that explain the English subjunctive, quite often it's described as the unreal use of past tenses. Now for me that's a bit of a long title, not one of my favourite ways of describing it, but it does the job. It tells you what we are going to do. We're going to use the past tense to make a subjunctive. All right? If you speak a Latin language, you'll use this very frequently. But in other languages perhaps it doesn't exist as much. So best way to do it is to give you an example. Okay, now as well as structures, there are also subjunctive verbs. All right, the most typical one, you may have studied this at first certificate level, is the verb wish. Okay, and I've got a couple of volunteers helping me here today. One is Ralph, who's a very unhappy man. You can see him standing there looking a bit miserable. And I also have my Penguiti genie. Now he has the magical power to grant 3 wishes to whoever rubs the magic lamp. And we're going to look now and see how Ralph makes 3 wishes and whether or not they can come true. Okay, so Ralph's going to start with some wishes that he wants right now. Okay, so these are going to be present or possibly future wishes, but he wants them now. Okay, the first thing he says is, I wish I could fly. Don't we all, right? So he's used the verb can, and because he's wishing now, the verb regresses or backshifts 1 tense from can to could. So I wish I could fly. Remember that it's essential to repeat the subject, okay? So I wish I could fly, all right? A negative wish in the second one, I wish I didn't have a cold. Okay, imagine he's a bit ill at the moment, he's feeling a bit sick, and he wishes he did not have a cold. Notice that the auxiliary verb goes back, the auxiliary verb back shifts, and we use the verb in the infinitive. But the idea is still the same. The final one, I wish I were taller. Okay, now it's pretty acceptable to say I wish I was. Perfect traditional grammar, people say I wish I were, but you can substitute was now in most cases. Nobody really minds. Okay, so this is a present or future wish, and you very simply use I wish, a subject, verb in the past, and then a complement. Now because the Penguiti genie is feeling a little bit generous today, he gives Ralph 2 additional wishes. And he says, look, you can change your past if you want. You can make some wishes about the past. So they decide on a couple of things. And Ralph says, I wish I had studied more. Because unfortunately, he did not get very good grades at school. And this has affected him later on in life. He also, because he's feeling a bit sick today, he says, I wish I hadn't, in the negative, I wish I hadn't eaten so much. Okay, last night, for example, because he went to McDonald's and he ate a lot of Big Macs and now he feels very sick. So these are 2 ways here of wishing in the past. You can see we use, again, the subject I wish, subject verb I wish, and again we repeat the subject in I, then we're going past perfect, I wish I had studied, or we're using the negative, had not eaten. Okay, so we're using past perfect to wish in the past. This is the most obvious example of subjunctive in English, and maybe you studied this at first, but now we're going to move on to something just a little bit more complicated. Okay, so I'm back with Ralph, and we're looking at another subjunctive structure. This time we're looking at would rather. Okay, you'll normally see this contracted down to I apostrophe D. So it's not had, it's would in this case, all right? So this is another subjunctive structure that we use to describe preference, all right? So if you're choosing between two or more things, you're going to use this structure if you want. And for this example, I'm using Ralph, and he's not learned his lesson. He still wants to eat a lot of junk food. He wants to go and eat a big fat burger. So we're nice. We give him a choice and we say, look, we can go to McDonald's or we can go to Burger King. And in the first sentence, you'll see Ralph says, I'd rather go to Burger King. All right. Now this is an important sentence. This is the easy part, okay? Because he's expressing a preference for himself. So you can see I, and then we see the verb to go. All right, that's pretty easy. Like so. Look at the second sentence though. And he says, I'd rather we went to Burger King. It's a very similar sentence, but you notice that the subject has changed. It's changed from I to we, okay? And in this case, when the subject changes, it could be from I to it, from a he to she, from a Robert to Mario, whoever. If the subject changes, then the verb backshifts, okay? So I'd rather we went to Burger King, okay? So in this case, very, very important, subject changes, verb backshifts, okay? So this is a present preference that he's expressing. Now we're going to have a look at how he would do the same thing in the past. Okay, fast forward 24 hours. 24 hours in the future, Ralph has been to Burger King. He has eaten numerous Whoppers, and he's now lying in bed feeling very sick. And he says to himself, well, McDonald's burgers don't normally make me feel so sick. I'd rather have gone to McDonald's. Okay, so he's expressing a preference in the past now. Okay, so he's saying he would rather have gone to McDonald's, not Burger King. So using this structure, again, relatively simple. We're using I'd rather, obviously, and we're then using a present perfect tense. Remember, this is Ralph's preference for himself. So it's still I, but now because it's in the past, we're using a present perfect, which is have gone, all right? Similarly to what we studied before, if the subject changes, the structure changes as well, okay? Look at the second sentence. I'd rather we had gone to McDonald's, all right? Same thing applies. The only difference is we're going from a present perfect to a past perfect, all right? Why have we done this? Because the subject has changed from I to we, all right? So every time this happens, if you're talking about the past, if the subject is the same, again, it could be he or she or whatever. If the subject doesn't change, you're using present perfect. If the subject changes in any way, I to we in this case, your tense shifts backwards to a past perfect. And that's it. Those are two of the most common subjunctive forms in English. You have wish and would rather. Okay, those should help you in your advanced certificate exam. They will appear in the use of English sometimes. Try to get them into your writing and speaking as well if possible. So that's it. That's all 6 parts done. I wish you nothing but good luck as you continue your journey towards CAE. If there's any problem or any question, please get in touch, send me a message. And if these videos have been in any way, shape or form informative for you, please like and subscribe. Stay in touch. There'll be more on the way. Thanks again, guys, and good luck with your exams.